Hello, we are back. This is the Banhammer Podcasts, hosted by myself, Hosh, and I'm with...
the legendary Levi.
Yes, I'm glad you said it. I say legendary too much, you know. Right. So we're on episode 3, and we're talking about games as usual. We've got a little bit more of a schedule lined up. Don't be surprised if it just ends up going on a random direction. You know,
normally happens.
Yeah, it happens too often. But we've got a few things to discuss this week. We want to start adding a bit of gaming news. So we've both been on the hunt to talk about a couple of things each. We've got a few things to talk about soon. One thing, I did mention it at the end of the last show, and that was the Rllmuk Top 100 Games of All Time. Now, this is a forum that I've been using for years.
2015 edition.
An awesome gaming forum. And there's a lot of members use it. And back in 2007, they did a top 100 games of all time of their own. Now, I know these exist, you know, in official capacities and that. But I just, I like to use this one because, you know, I've got an affinity with this forum, and I like to think a lot of the people on here are fairly level-headed, and, you know, they've got some good games that they'll enjoy, and so I'm kind of looking forward to this list. Now, it's still ongoing. It's not actually a fully complete list at the moment. It's the guy who's been posting it, he's going down it slowly, literally over the last few weeks, and just announcing 5 at a time. So I thought it'd be quite interesting, and we can do this. I'm going to do this over the next, it will be 20 shows. We're going to drop 5 at a time, starting from 100, just to show you guys listening, guys and girls, what's been chosen on this site as their top 100 games of all time. Believe it or not, I feel quite bad about this. I never actually got involved and voted.
Well, I've only just recently heard of the forum through you.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I've looked at the first few games, and don't be surprised if I don't actually know quite a few of the titles. But
an age thing, though, isn't it? I mean,
it's an age thing and an ignorance thing as well, really.
But there's a lot from the sort of the PS1, PS2.
I was a bit late to the PS2 era, though.
You got the occasional older ones and that. And I'm sure later on there is one from like the 80s in there. There'll be a few from there because we're talking games of all time here.
18
it's
years
ones that
like
stood the test
before
of
me.
time. And another thing I've got to mention, obviously, I know of most of them, but I've not played probably a large majority of them, if you're talking all 100. I've played quite a few, but it'll be interesting to name drop them at least, maybe talk about them. We've got a little bit of information, and probably there's like a write-up of each one of them that's been contributed from a few different members, and I might just briefly reel that off as we go through.
Yeah, that's alright.
Before we do that, so Levi, what's new with you? What's new? Cooking in the game world.
What's cooking in the game world? Well, there's always been talk of the new World of Warcraft expansion, which I've kept my ears open for. There's been quite a lot of fuss being made about it. People are going crazy like usual, to be honest, saying things. They don't agree with Blizzard, they don't agree with this, they don't agree with that, and personally I've had a look at it.
What is the quality of the actual release itself?
More with the decisions that the company is taking the game, like the way the game will be going. People not agreeing, like...
Again, I've not played...
MMOs,
Well, I've not played World of Warcraft, but... I know I've had conversations with people in the past who've said, you know, when it started, it was quite different.
Oh, when it started and where it is now are two different games
changed.
now.
But I know that's also happened with the likes of Final Fantasy 11. That's changed a lot over the time, and I've heard the same conversations from people.
14 and A Realm Reborn are obviously two different games as well.
Exactly the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what about you? So have you played much of it?
I played WoW early on, but I was so young I really didn't know what I was doing. But coming back to it in Mists, it's a lot different. The game was entirely different, and
you know, sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
Go on.
It was funny. My cousin's girlfriend, she's sort of in between it's waiting to go back to college, and she's not working. She's got a lot of free time. It was funny seeing her mention about Warcraft, and she had no idea. It didn't know anything about it. Wanted to go on it, and she said, again, it means nothing to me, but she said she's been spending her time trying to pet cats, but accidentally killing them.
Yeah, if you right-click critters, you're going to one-shot them. You probably want to left-click them and then /pet. For all you people out there who can't do that, there's our tutorial of the day. Left-click the critter, then /pet. Try not to kill it.
Yeah.
Be aware and save a critter today. But, I don't know. WoW nowadays is a lot friendlier. But yeah, Legion's been kicking up a fuss with the new class, Demon Hunter, which I think people have been asking for quite a while. But that's been kicking up a fuss. People are generally just making noise about it, but it's generated quite the backing and following, and I think more people will be coming back since WoW subscribers have hit an all-time low since vanilla.
Right. It's been going a long time, though.
Oh,
really
over a
has.
decade old. Over a decade old at least.
It's almost
maybe
like
even 15 years.
It's becoming a little Counter-Strike in its own way, really, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, but with CS is a bit different, with it just being you pay for it once and you can play it as much as you want.
Oh, yeah.
With WoW having people I know
subscriptions and that
playing for at least 10 years, it's kind of scary.
Can you imagine how much money that must take off your bank account?
We calculated it once and we chose never to do it again.
How much is it per month at the moment?
They've just upped the prices, but I'm paying $9.99 a month, but I don't think I'll be going back after this month. I don't think I'm going back.
That's expensive, that, you know.
But it's the way you justify it.
£120 a year. I mean, that's a fair amount, that, for a single game.
That's if you pay it monthly. If you pay it every 6 months,
£1,200. Right.
I justify it. Anyway, go on. What is your fuss in the gaming world? What do you know?
I did mention it last. I just started it before, and that was Bayonetta. I've actually finished it finally. I've been through that. That is an excellent game, and I really highly recommend it to you.
I have been wanting to pick it up, but like I said, I've got Darksiders is my current hack and slash I'm playing.
How are you getting on with Darksiders?
Darksiders, it's been brushed off to the side at the moment because we was on about Mass Effect, and I wanted to compare Mass Effect to Dragon Age.
Right.
And having Inquisition, I've kind of just switched over to playing a bit more Inquisition. And it will take me a long time. I'm going through it on the hardest difficulty, Nightmare, and I'm playing a two-handed warrior, so I will be in the fray of the combat all the time.
I've kind of done the same thing with Bayonetta. I finished it. It must have taken me sort of about just over 20 hours, 23 hours or something like that. It is absolutely batshit mental, you know. It's one of the craziest
like
hack
my
and
kind of
slash
game.
beat 'em ups that I've played. It's one of the fastest, and it's just it keeps on giving, and there's a lot of replay value as well, because you know it's by the same maker who did Devil May Cry 1 and 2. It's got a very, very close similarity, but it's almost like a spiritual successor, and they build up on that.
Speaking of them, they are in my backlog to play after Darksiders. I did pick up the entire Devil May Cry collection.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll play 1 and 2
That's
through and then play
something that I'm going to
Bayonetta.
go back to, because, and I mentioned before, I do own the first few of those, but I was well late to the game.
I started at 4.
Yeah, I took a look last week at Devil May Cry 1, because I was talking to my cousin about Bayonetta and that, and telling him that it's got similarities to Devil May Cry, and it still holds up. I love the look of the original game. I love the gothic look. It's a bit more serious and darker. Bayonetta's got that darker edge. It's got that, you know, sort of darker feel to it, but it's kind of playful at the same time. You know, there's a bit of humour in it, but you don't take it serious. There's a lot of change-ups in levels. Like the core focus is the sort of beat-em-up combo structure, the speed, dodging, that sort of thing. You gain techniques, but they've got like odd levels. Like there'll be a racing one, or there's a boss where you're suddenly on some kind of board surfing over the waves, and you can flip while you're on the board. And then there's another one that it actually pays homage to again, you probably haven't even heard of this. It's a well-known Sega game from the early 90s. I think it might even be older than that. I can't remember the exact date. Space Harrier. It's a really old,
that's over my head.
Yeah, it was an arcade game. A guy with a jetpack, and he'd sort of almost travel straight ahead, almost, you know, like straight forward. But it was a shooter, and you'd move it. I don't. There's a few games like there's one called Child of Eden. If you knew that, it's the same sort of thing. But that's
heard of Child of
if
Eden.
You know
yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, and Panzer Dragoon, Starwing.
No,
sort
I've not heard of that. But Child of Eden,
you
I've
never heard of Starwing?
Nope.
Right.
Ignorance
Star
is
Fox?
bliss. I've heard of Star Fox.
Yeah, well, it's Star. Yeah, well, that's
I have
that's
heard
the
of Star
American.
Fox.
You know the American names. Yeah. Starwing was the Super Nintendo release.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
I haven't actually played them. They're just names I know of.
Yeah. You never really got into Nintendo.
Is it like a combat fighter
Yeah.
thing? I played
vaguely rings out.
something
I've
like
got the
Tom
picture of it in my.
Clancy's
Is it a guy with a helmet and a yellow
yeah,
visor?
The yellow visor.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it,
was-
but
it was-
PS1.
No, that was like PS3. That
Was it?
like
All right, no, sorry, I'm getting
that's
mixed up.
Really new. Yeah, but that's like the only
Thing.
air-to-air plane fight,
Right.
dogfight simulator. That's the word I'm looking for. That
Yeah,
I've
but
ever played.
these. I mean, what I'm talking about is more arcade. It's like Bayonetta is full on arcade. It's about speed power-ups and that sort of thing. It's same with the likes of Starwing, but overall, I mean, it is crazy. It's absolutely, some of the bosses are amazing, you know. But I mean, we need to move on to like the main points of the show, and you know, what do you want to start with? Should we do the news, or should we get on to the start of the top 100 games of all time according to Rllmuk?
Is the news good news or bad news? That is the question.
It's quite interesting. Mine's considering particularly remakes. It's got a theme to it.
Ooh. Go on.
Should we start with the news?
I'm interested.
Let's start with the gaming news. Right, okay. I mean, we wanted to do this, talk about this a bit earlier. We've been going on about this, and it's probably like a little bit old. But I'd say a couple of weeks. But it's still fairly new. But the first bit of news is concerning Resident Evil. And I want to mention that because
Resident Evil.
There's a few things that have been going on in the Resident Evil scene so far.
I've never really played. I think I played one, and the one I played was probably. I think it was the worst one. Was it 5? No, it wasn't 5.
6.
It was on. I think it was PlayStation 3.
Yes, 6 was the last one, the mainstream one that got released, and
people didn't say. People said it was bad. I didn't
it's
like it.
because they changed it to more an action based, and I think the worst one that I know of that's not of the main series, I think was considered what's it called? Operation Raccoon City or something. But it was
I've heard the name Operation Raccoon City.
It was completely different style again. But I mean, going back to the Resident Evil. Strangely enough, even though I really like it, it's a series that I've not been back to for a long time much.
I've never really delved into it.
When I was like in school, like Resident Evil 1 and 2 and 3, you know, the first 3 on the PlayStation, right? And I loved those. But believe it or not, I've not played Resident Evil 4, and that's like, it's almost like a sacrilege thing to say, you know,
Burn
that I
heathen.
enjoyed the series, but I've never even played that. I've never played the new ones, but because you remember once we talked about playing things in order, I've kind of put a stop on that, and
Kind of like me and Metal Gear.
I won't carry on until I've gone through 4, especially in the main series. So at some point I will do, and I've always planned on playing the ones on the GameCube. So I played like 1, 2, and 3 originally.
Yeah.
Second one was amazing. I really like that, and quite a few years ago I went back to the first one and really enjoyed it. It's such a good game. Essentially the news that I wanted to talk about was they're planning on bringing out, Capcom are officially coming up with a remake of Resident Evil 2, which is quite big news.
That's
really
interesting. It's not the first remake I've heard of, because I know FF7 is getting one as well.
Oh yeah. No, there's loads of.
Like,
It seems to be all kicking off with remakes.
The fans are getting what they want. The fans are getting what they want.
The difference with this, it's not a remaster; it's a full remake. And what caused this was there's a company called Invader Games. Now, funnily enough, a few weeks back I heard about this, and they started to create a fan-based remake, which is what fans have wanted for so long, and they've been using the Unreal Tournament. The Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
And they were doing pretty good work on it. And then it must have been about a week after I heard about that, it turned out Capcom have got wind of it, and it's kind of straight away, no, they're shutting it down because they want to do it themselves. But fortunately, I has got a bit of an interesting happy ending to it, and it
What,
turns
did they
out
end up
that,
buying the company out or something?
No, well, they've not. I don't think it's 100% official yet that they are going to get them on board, but they are planning on. You know, they've brought them in. They've kindly
Yeah,
asked them
that's
to
pretty
stop.
awesome. Instead of just
production.
shutting them down, that's
Yeah, but it turns out that they got the inspiration to do that because someone was working on it, and I think I can understand though, because Resident Evil 2 especially, it's like the Final Fantasy 7 of Squaresoft.
So it's like the fan favorite.
Yeah, it's a classic that where it really kicked off, you know, and got the fans going. And I remember it because it was like the first one I played as a demo, and then I got the first two together, and
Yeah.
it was such a good game. So I mean, we've not really got any footage or anything. That there is some footage of the Unreal Engine one that the fans made, but
That's just been drifting around, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a little bit. Looked quite interesting. It adopted the Resident Evil 4 for like over-the-shoulder perspective. So that's one to look out for. I'm guessing we'll have more news on that as we go along. And another one I've just seen today. It was actually only announced on September the 1st, but they not also brought out a HD remake of the remake. So it's a remake of the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the first game came out, and then the remake came out on the GameCube, and then they made a HD remaster of the remake of the first game. Now that's been out for a little bit now.
That's one
it's another one on my
title.
to play list. But they've also announced they're going to remaster Resident Evil 0, which is the second game that came out on the GameCube. Now, there's an official title for a collection that's coming out that's going to encompass both those games together on the current generation consoles and PC. And that's called Resident Evil Origins. I think that's the correct title. But they're going to be sort of bundled together.
Oh, sounds quite interesting. I mean...
And they're actually coming out apparently on the PS3 and 360 as well, but they might be individual on that. They've not mentioned whether it's going to be part of the bundle, but I'm definitely interested in doing it. And so that's that. I mean, so I'll pass some news on. I've got another one, but see if we can.
I've got a bit of news.
On to you.
It's not directly about games. It's kind of an offshoot. Iron Maiden released a single named "Speed of Light" off their new album "Book of Souls" that actually came out today, as in the day we recorded this. And
is it actually come out today?
The album's come out, Book of Souls.
Oh, the album itself. I was going to say, because you showed me, was it a couple of weeks ago?
The single's been out for quite a while, and the video is what I want to talk about.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting because it has all these references to games. I mean, I just loaded up the single, watched the video, and the first thing it was like, whoa, this is like an Eddie take on Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it is quite a video worth watching, you know, if you.
It was really interesting.
Sort of into that sort of thing, you know.
Donkey Kong, I think, was the first one, then onto Contra.
Yeah, they kind of loosely play on the idea of classic retro games. I remember the Donkey Kong
I remember the MK one. I remember Mortal Kombat.
They've like recreated
one of my favourite games.
You know, the guy of Iron Maiden as what's he called?
Eddie.
Eddie. Yeah, he's like a little pixel character, and then he runs up, and there's like some. I can't quite remember. Is it like a monster on top?
Yeah.
It's not actually Donkey Kong, but it's kind of like in the style of, you know. Then there was I think they did like a Doom one.
The Doom one right at the end, yeah. There was 4 references, and that was Donkey Kong, and then I think the next one was Contra, Mortal Kombat, and Doom.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it was I found it quite interesting because
it goes through the ages of the different
games.
It represents but not just the games. It actually, you said something about it represents the different albums he's done, doesn't it, or something like? Each game represents.
Each game has a different
reference to a different album.
To all the albums. Like I think the Ruskin Arms. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me on that. Where Iron Maiden first started playing is on there, and there's little things like Charlotte the Harlot being in the first game, which is a song off the first album, Iron Maiden.
Right.
Then there's obviously, on the Mortal Kombat reference, there's the Beast, which is a reference to the number of the Beast, the fatality. There's lots of different. The way they've done it is
because they've got a Mortal Kombat. Yeah,
they've done all references to all their albums, and I must say, if you're a metal fan or a rock fan in general, Maiden, check them out. They're great.
Yeah, it's coming back to me now. I remember the Mortal Kombat reference, and also what was quite interesting, the one that looks very, very like RoboCop vs Terminator. the Genesis game that came out. It looks very like that.
Yeah.
So what's the title? Iron Maiden.
Speed of Light.
Speed of Light. So yeah,
off the Book of Souls
definitely.
album.
If you fancy checking out a game-influenced music video by Iron Maiden, check out Iron Maiden Speed of Light. Yeah, that's a good one.
Souls.
So moving on, there's another interesting one that I randomly came across. I've not seen a lot of news on this actually in many places. And I'm hoping they're going to get this finished because it's about a remakes, and it's a fun remake, and it's often nice to hear fans doing this sort of thing because they get to bring things out that publishers just can't justify or too lazy to do, not listening to the customers. This is a Square Enix one, or as I like to call it, Square Enix. Yeah,
I remember when they were two different companies.
Yes, I do. I remember too well.
It was better then.
Well, in the light of Final Fantasy coming back on the scene, we've got obviously Final Fantasy.
The 7 remake.
Well, we've got Final Fantasy VII remake. So I was going to say we've got 15s on the horizon. Yeah,
they have the
and then
MMO,
there's what's the
Reborn.
Type 0? That was it.
Type 0 has been out for a while as well.
And you know what? I never knew about Type 0. I'm sure it was supposed to be.
It was a mobile game in the beginning, wasn't it?
All right, I think it was supposed to be on the PSP, the original PSP.
It was on the PSP, I think.
Then it was supposed to come out on the Vita, but then they cancelled that, and then now it's coming out on consoles. Something along these lines.
Type 0's been out on PSP in Japan. I'm pretty sure. Type 0 was a Japan-only release, from what I heard.
It was just something like a couple of weeks ago I was reading about.
Or it might have been a mobile. Like, I've heard different things. I don't know what to believe. I'd have to look into it again. But I've heard that it could have been a mobile game, or it was a PSP game that was released in Japan only and never got ported.
But the guy behind it, who was heading that sort of project, he's now involved in Final Fantasy 15.
Ooh.
Basically, it was something to do with that anyway. But yeah, going back to this particular remake, there's I don't know if I'm not even too sure what the name is at the moment. I'm not getting it on my notes, but there's a game called Final Fantasy Reimagined that is in the making at the moment, and the amazing thing about it is you can actually play this as well, the first stage of it. It's a scrolling beat 'em up.
I've heard of this. You showed it me.
Yeah, it
looks very
pretty
nice.
Good. It's kind of, it's got that 2D look. Like, I won't say it's not true pixels, but it's more like hand-drawn look.
Hand-drawn, yeah, it does give it that kind of feel.
The flat edge, but it's got that speed, and it's like, as the name suggests, Final Fantasy Reimagined. What would Final Fantasy be like if it was a side-scrolling slash 'em up, beat 'em up style game with an arcadey feel, using the likes of materia and that as magic and weapons? And I think they have like a. I think at the moment there's 2 characters in it. I
know Cloud's one. With the
Cloud's one. The other one's
Tsurugi.
Tifa, I think, from Final Fantasy VII, obviously.
Sure, it's the first Tsurugi.
Yeah, I think it's those, and you can actually download the game. I'll give you the website shortly, and you can try it out for yourselves, which is cool.
Yeah, but looking at the actual gameplay, I have seen a little bit. I've not had a chance to download it myself, but it's one of the games I would like for it to see the light of day and not have Square Enix
shut it down,
jump down their throat.
You see,
and
this
say
is
no.
This is the problem. Now with Capcom, it was a bit
sad
different.
Thing.
Yeah, with Capcom, they fortunately they did ask the guys at Invader Games to shut it down, but they brought them on board. Now with Square, they have done this before in the past, and they did it with Chrono Trigger. There was an amazing remake that was coming out.
Square, why?
Called,
why did you do it?
Chrono Trigger, Chrono Resurrection, and the Chrono Trigger being like an old 16-bit sort of Super Nintendo game. This was remade, or it was in the process of being remade into some like amazing looking 3D all-out game, remake, fan remake.
Yeah.
I think there's some serious developers on that as well. And Square Enix got caught wind of it, and they just shut it down. And it was a bit of a shame, really,
Kind of,
and they've not even done anything with it.
Like, if you're going to shut it down, at least do something with what people have generated publicity
a bit like
for.
Capcom. I mean, I think they've done good in this situation.
I mean, if you're going to shut the game down and the publicity, it's already got the backing and follow it. At least kind of pick up the pieces of what you've just made.
Yeah.
Like, of the rubble and trash you've just made.
Yeah, exactly.
Annoying.
I mean, what I'm going to mention is I'm going to give out the name of the website that you can go to, and that's FFVII, obviously Final Fantasy VI, hyphen reimagined.com. So that's FFVII hyphen reimagined.com, and if you go on there, it's an official site. You can see a video of it, read up some info on the game, and of course download the first level to try it out, which is a good thing, that, because usually you just hear, you don't really get that.
You don't get no demo, you just kind of
Not
get,
of a fun
we're
remake.
making this, and hopefully it's going to see the light of day, and one day you will be able to play it.
It's this kind of thing, really, that Square needs to, like.
I'd like them to openly show backing, but I don't think it would happen.
It would be good. It would be good. I think this is an example of a worthwhile game, you know, that they could sort of get involved in.
Yeah, pushed that. Maybe bundle it with the new 7 remake. And that's a serious. That's a cash cow, though.
Yeah,
that's a cash cow.
They don't need to like bundle it, but it just supports it in some way. Maybe bring some people on board to kind of get that quality control.
If you pre-ordered it, make it just like a little, a few level games. And if you pre-ordered 7 remake, you get that for free or something like that.
What I like about it is it's fresh. It's something different. It's not encroaching on like their existing ideas. It's not like a remake or like an RPG as such, or a sequel. Sometimes I can kind of understand if you're doing a game and then you create a sequel and call it a fan remade sequel, then it's kind of like distorting how the storyline should go, and you know, it could.
That's like you're stepping on people's toes.
Yeah, exactly. But this is something entirely different. I think it should be left alone or supported at least. But it's looking all right. So
we can hope and pray.
News to you.
News to me. Really, I've just been on about the speed of light thing. Other than that, I don't really know. There's things I've heard from Blizzard. They have a new shooter coming out. I think that's called Overwatch. Looks very interesting.
What kind of shooter?
First person.
First-person
shooter of the likes of Team Fortress 2.
Right.
And I think it's called Loadout or something like that. Games like that. Other than that, what have I been doing or heard of recently? Not much. Other than obviously Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront. I mean, I'm jumping on that hype train. I remember playing Battlefront 2 as a kid.
It does. I've got to admit that looks really good. I've never played the original.
I was comparing the graphics from Battlefront 2 to what it is now, and it's like
night and day.
Wow, oh god, it was just one of them.
Yeah,
I need this, and I needed it yesterday. So
I was impressed by how you could sort of fly around the walkers and tie the legs.
Yeah, it was. It looks like it's going to be like a quick time event kind of thing where you'll fly like to the walker, and then you'll have like press RT to fire tow cables, and then it'll put you in an animation where you're wrapping the tow cable around. I don't know if
you know what. I'd hope that doesn't sound that appealing though. I was hoping that it'd be real time. You know, that you actually did it and there was physics involved. That would be amazing.
From the way of a multiplayer aspect, because the game will be online multiplayer. I think it's actually going to take place of instead of Battlefield that DICE would be making. It's going to be Battlefront.
You know what? I did like the fact you can even go through the legs as well if you're flying in a vehicle.
That's very awesome.
Cool.
But I couldn't see them putting in a real time tow cable going around, because one, I think it would probably be hard to program, and two, lag multiplayer implications. I can understand that. I just thought it'd be more from a physics-based approach. It'd be just. I'd love to see them do stuff with the. I think if it's run on the Cry engine, which I think that's what Battlefield's run on. That same destruction engine. I'd love to see some of the stuff they could do, especially with the spaceships.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of dogfighting. From what I've seen of the gameplay, there's a bit of dogfighting, X-wings, TIE fighters, Y-wings. You know.
Yeah.
There's the dogfighting going on, and they still have the drop-in hero where you can switch to playing a hero class, either whether you're Sith and you're playing as Darth Vader, whether you're the Jedis and you're playing as Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
It looks a lot of fun.
it's something I might actually get a chance to play this. I'm not like, again, as I've said before, I'm not hugely into multiplayer enough to kind of invest much money in that side, and plus I've not actually stepped up to the current gen. I'm still like enjoying my PS3 mainly and a few of the retro stuff. But my cousin, who's just bought a house, he's planning on getting one of the new consoles. I think he's getting a PS4, and his housemate is getting the opposite one, so they'll have both of them. And I know he's been banging on about Battlefront because he had the PS2 version. He said it was really good.
Yeah, I played it on PS2. It was
when
a lot
when
of
he
fun.
got the new one got announced at E3, he was like amazed. And you know, to be honest,
it looks
it does
so
look good.
good.
So I'm guessing I will get a chance to try it out.
Well,
and it does look
there
good.
There is that, the Battlefront. I mean, games coming out in November normally are pretty good. I mean, obviously you've got the AAAs, and you're gonna have your Call of Duty. Your new Call of Duty. I've seen gameplay. The beta was out, and there was a lot of streams going on.
Speaking of Call of Duty,
I've seen a bit of gameplay.
Is it Call of Duty? Oh, do you know?
I
I'm
don't
not
know
even
if I
sure.
like
I don't know if I'm getting mixed up between Halo or Call of Duty. I think it's.
What kind of
There's a
happens
guy
to
who he's another one that comes to the studio. You know him anyway, Daniel Froome, and he's like well into his Call of Duties and that. I mean, it's not really my cup of tea, but he's gone and spent 180 quid.
Is that on the Juggernaut edition? Where you get a mini fridge?
Yeah, it's the mini fridge. It's the mini fridge. You've seen it. I've not seen it.
They sold out so quickly. I had a few friends that were thinking of They saw it announced and they was like, I'm gonna get that. Went to pre-order it, gone.
Yeah.
That's how fast they sold out.
But he said people are selling, like, he got 180. He said to me, and I was surprised, he said people are selling that on eBay for like several thousand.
That's what people will buy the copies up and resell them. There's a market for it, but whether it's legal or not is another matter.
It can't be. It's not illegal. It's you're just buying something and selling it.
Yeah,
but it's up to the company who's selling them to try and limit it. And I'll give you an example. This is something else, and it kind of intrigued me. I've never been into that, and to be honest, I've never even bought a collector's edition. I almost bought something called Ni no Kuni once, which is a Studio Ghibli RPG that got released. On the PS3, and I think it was on the Xbox as well. But the like a Wizard edition in a box and that, and it was I think it was about 55 at the time, so it wasn't ridiculous. It came with some like little plush toy and some, which I'm not a massive fan of, but I thought yeah whatever, and some magic book that it was like quite a thick heavy book, a few inches thick. That I think it was like it might be an art book or something. And
why didn't I get it?
And the game as well, but it does look pretty good. It kind of almost reminds me of the Dragon Quest series.
I've still got to play me a Dragon Quest game.
Particularly the Dragon Quest on the PS2.
Haven't played one ever.
Yeah.
I mean, JRPGs for me is Disgaea, and speaking of which, that is one thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
The demo went live last night on the American PlayStation Store of Disgaea 5. Really? I downloaded it straight away and I jumped on it, and I must say it's a lot different. There's aspects of using two weapons now that's never been done before. It has the magi changing. There's so much stuff going on, and as always, it's done by one of my favorite artists.
Is that No,
it's Nipponichi.
Nipponichi, yeah.
It's NIS America, yeah.
Right.
And I've always loved Disgaea. I've put so many hours into it. I don't want to know how many hours I've put into it. It's actually kind of scary.
Yeah, well, we mentioned that I think in the first episode.
It's scary.
It's in the thousands and all that. That is quite insane.
I love that game. That is gonna I would buy it on PS4 on release, and then probably end up buying it on Vita on release.
Really? Just so you can play it on the go. Yeah, it looks good. It does look good.
If you're into tile-based strategy RPGs, I must say, check it out. It's very humorous. The story is not to be taken seriously, really, with Disgaea's, but the combat is there. It has depth to the actual gameplay, and there's so much to do. Yeah. In it, it's just. You can just level up forever, and then when you get to the max, you can sort of reincarnate yourself, and then reincarnate yourself into a piece of fruit or something, and then level that piece of fruit. Or I might be talking rubbish because I don't know a lot about it. I know it's something stupid like that. You can level to 9,999. You can
go into items, can't you? You create an item, you go into it, and then you're fighting it. It sounds bizarre.
You can level up the items through the item world. I delve into it.
I only know for little bits, fragments, because I've got a friend friend that got into that. Because it started as the Makai Kingdom game, didn't it?
Yeah, and then
he
it
had
was
that. Yeah,
Makai Senki Disgaea.
Then you've got like Disgaea 1, 2, and then what's the Dark something Disgaea? Is it 2 or something?
They did
Dark.
Disgaea 1, Disgaea 2, and then they did Afternoon of Darkness, which was the
There's
port
like
of
D2
1.
or something, isn't it?
Disgaea 3, Absence of Justice, I think, was...
the 3's on the
PS3.
yeah.
4, A Promise Unforgotten was on the PS3. D2 came, which is a direct sequel to Disgaea 1, came after
Right, okay.
Disgaea 4, and then you've got Disgaea 5 now.
Ah, right. Do you know what? I didn't know that. I'd seen the D2 one, but I didn't realise
Yeah,
it was a
D2 is
sequel.
a direct
So it's like,
sequel.
yeah, Final Fantasy
Because what
10-2
happens
sort of
is,
thing. Yeah.
each Disgaea game set in a different netherworld,
Yeah.
and all the characters make cameo appearances in each game, but they have nothing to do with that world normally. Other than Etna in Disgaea 2, I'm pretty sure. But it's a different netherworld every single time, so it's like a brand new story, new characters, new people to know, new people to kill.
I have been kind of intrigued by it, but again, like as I say so often, there's so many games that I'm like wanting to play, and there's not enough time, you know.
Got no money, got no time.
Yeah, and it doesn't help when you're replaying games again once you've finished, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't, does it?
But one thing I hadn't finished, I was going to say, was go back to the collector's edition. When I said there's another one got a bit intrigued just recently, and literally a couple of days ago, and it's a game that's coming out on the Wii U, and it's what interests me about this. It's have you heard of the Fatal Frame series, also known in the UK as? Do you know what? It's getting my mind now. Something Zero, Enemy Zero. I've forgotten Project Zero.
I've heard of
Project Zero. Yeah, but it's called Fatal Frame. It's like a survival horror game.
Project Zero.
You play it with a camera, and you kind of look through the camera and you see ghosts. Now, it's one of the first that came out of that. I know there are a few with that sort of concept, but I've not played it. It's one of those like 2-play sort of games. I've got a friend that's been through a few of them because they started off on the PS2, and they're highly recommended by a lot of people.
I've actually seen some stuff on Rllmuk about them as well.
Have you?
Yeah.
Well, the first 3 came out. I think the first 3 are on the PS2. They're like they're not the cheapest. You're still paying at least 20 to 35 or something like that for each one.
That's expensive.
But for old games. But the 4th one never got released outside of Japan. It was like it's still not been translated or anything. But what's interesting is they're making it's already made, but they've released or releasing very soon. It's not released yet. It's coming out this month. I don't have the exact date on me, but it's called Project Zero Maiden of Blackwater or something like that. I can't quite remember a Black Maiden, something. It might be Black Maiden, and it's the 5th game in the series. But what's really interesting about it is physical release. As far as that goes, it's not getting a physical release anywhere in America, and it's coming out in the UK, but you can only get it if you pre-order it through game, and it's going to be for that pre-order, and then it's going to disappear, and it's for the Wii U, exclusive to the Wii U.
Oh, now I'm annoyed.
In the finishing days of the Wii U, because the Wii U is now in its last remaining days. I mean, that's going to be the NX, because publishers have started announcing that games are coming out on the NX now, so it's actually like becoming a real thing now with Nintendo, because they're going to be releasing a new console. I think they've realised they've kind of lagged behind, and they need that extra bit of kick and oomph, and there's a few things they're going to do with the system. I won't go into that too much. Maybe we'll talk about it in another episode.
Well, yeah.
But this game, it's going to be like as rare as rocking all shit, basically, and it's about 50 quid, $49.99. I don't normally spend that much, but and I don't even have a Wii U, but I'm just really intrigued by this. Yeah, just because it's quite a unique situation. And it was
interesting.
I'll sometimes watch Alpha Amiga Sin, YouTube personality, who rants about games and all that. And he was really angry the fact that they weren't releasing it, but I thought, I'm sure they are. And It's because they're not releasing it outside the UK. And not only that, you're limited to one only, and you have to be in the UK to actually get it from the shop. So you can't even buy it from overseas. So it's going to be one of those ones that, as far as physical copies go, it seems like it's going to be...
seems like an investment, really. I mean, you pick a copy up to invest and sit on it for about 10-15 years.
Keep it sealed.
Keep it sealed.
That's the thing that annoys me, because I've always been against that, like thinking, what's the point?
Even though
I was going to say, even though I've got that as a token.
Valkyrie
I've got
profile winner.
Two.
Is it 2?
Silmeria. I
shake my head at you for that game.
I've never played either of them yet.
I shake my head at you for that game. Why?
Why have I not played it, or why have I got it?
Why is it still sealed? That's my question.
That's not. I didn't intend on doing that. That's entirely because.
No.
1 second. Yeah. Sorry. Screensaver came on. I thought I'd stop recording then. I never got around to doing it. I bought a few games and it just never happened. And now it's become like this. Oh, I want a token sealed game, because I think it is a bit pointless.
Open that one, and now you can justify laying 50 quid on this new game and keeping it.
I'll tell you what though, my uncle, like he's got a couple like that himself, but because it's been so long, he doesn't want to open it now, and it's more. I mean, the game that I've got is. It's not worth loads anyway, even sealed, because it was pretty cheap. But my uncle, he's got Wind Waker, and it's still sealed.
The original.
Yeah, and I saw that go sealed on eBay for like about £200. Last time I checked, it's been going up, and he's also got sealed. And again, he's probably done it this. I don't know. His wife bought him Skyward Sword, and it was a collector's edition with a golden sword controller, and he's purposely kept it sealed with the receipt in it.
I don't know.
He's done that because of the Wind Waker, how that ended up. So he's like, oh, I'll do the same, because he doesn't get time to play a lot of things these days.
I'm gonna get shot for saying this, but I've not actually played a Zelda game.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
I keep getting told I could have played Ocarina of Time, but didn't, and played Pokemon instead.
Really?
I am a Pokemon fan.
That's a game that I've never played.
I'm a Pokemon fan.
Even though it was about, I never had well, I have had a Game Boy, but I didn't like sort of.
I still
use
have
it that much.
My GBA SP with Emerald in the bottom.
Yeah. With
the save data that I've not played in about 7 years.
You'd think I would have played it because it's essentially an RPG in it, but I think at the time I had access to a lot of other games, and I was playing the PS1 a lot, and there was all your Final Fantasies out and all that, those kind of games, and I just have other things on offer. I had a couple of friends that used to play it together, the red, blue ones when they came out.
Sapphire and Ruby, or Fire, it'll be Sapphire and Ruby.
The original ones, the very, very
on
first
like
ones.
Game Boy. Was it GBA or Game Boy Color?
No, the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy, the first Game Boy.
The only one I know that came out, like, wasn't it like gold?
There will have been. There was yellow as well.
It was
and
yellow.
Green, and I think blue and red were the first ones that came out.
And then
they
Sapphire
came out with, like,
and Ruby were the remakes.
Yeah, yellow and green, I think, came out, and then they started coming out with all crystal, leaf green, and that's when
leaf green was loads, GBA.
I
had fire red. I know.
But yeah, I mean, before we run out of time, we need to start on the list. I think that's the final thing we need to do.
I don't even think we can start on the list, to be honest. I think
we can go through it briefly.
We can touch on them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go. I mean, the thing is, I want to go through these. Some of them will probably start talking about a bit more than others, and to be honest, neither of us has played any of the first 5 anyway, so it's not a major issue.
I've played 1.
What we'll do is we'll go through a list. I know there were a few runner-up games that you wanted to talk about, some of those, but we'll leave that until that's not as
we'll do
relevant.
that next week.
But what I wanted to do is make sure we went through 5 per episode.
We'll do 5.
So starting at 100, the number 100 of games of all time is a game called Okami.
Okami.
No.
Is in Japanese. Okami.
Yeah, this is.
It looks nice.
Again, this is a game
beautiful
that I do actually own, and I've owned it for about 5 years, but I've still never played it. I never got around to playing it.
I knew that.
Yeah, nothing. I don't do this purposely. I'm not hoarding games and just not playing them. It just happens
really
to be.
Should play that game. I've heard so many good things about it.
I'm looking at a screenshot right now, and it looks like a watercolor painting. It looks amazing. I think this is the HD remastered version.
No, I think that's just the original. I don't know if they did a HD remastered version.
Oh no, yeah, they do. It's on PS3. Did you know?
I had time to spend more money.
Yeah, it's on the
I've got to buy that then. I have to buy
that. The only thing is, what kind of put me off, I'm not sure if there was something like a missing filter, like a paper-looking filter that made it look like it's a paper texture, that was on the PS2, but not on the remaster. But I'd have to look into that a bit more. But I know that occasionally happens. There was a hoo-ha about Silent Hill 2, especially when that got remade. There were things missing, fog missing, and voices changed, things like that. Sound effects not missing. But to be honest, it looks really good. And I think Akami's like you're a wolf. It's very exaggerated. It's got that. It looks like a watercolor. Gods, and for as far as I know, it's a Metroidvania style game. So it's like your Zelda games, and it's a solid game. You know, you open up a world, an area, get an item to go backwards and forwards. But yeah, that's that, and that was originally released in 2006 on the PS2. That's Akami. I was gonna read out the lines as well, but
I don't think
it's just because of time, so I'll go through that. At number 99, we have, counting down, Outrun 2.
Now, this is a game I've not played, but I've played games similar, and I think everyone else has.
Well, Outrun is an absolute classic in the series. It came out, I can't remember the exact day, but let's just say something like 91 or around then anyway. Yeah. It was an arcade game.
Early 90s.
I used to have it on it might have even been at late 80s, but I had it on the
before my time then.
Atari ST actually, and it was an interesting, very arcadey racer. I'm sure pretty much most people who are listening will have heard the name Outrun at some point. You're in your Ferrari, and they used to actually have the on the official game that came out in the arcade, they had a Ferrari logo on the back of the car, but because it was licensed through Ferrari, at the time, when they came to making ports of the game, if you try and find a port, you'll find that you can't get that game with the Ferrari logo, so you can't get an official original port release, and they'll never release the original game on anything as it was in the Arcade Perfect, just because you won't get that logo on there, which is interesting. But essentially, it's like a time trial checkpoint game. You've got to beat the clock, but there's like a split path way of going through it. So you've got like a sort of you start off in a box, and then not in a box, but on the little selection, it's like a little map sort of thing in the corner,
and you can like branch out.
Yeah, and it branches out into two nodes, and you can take left or right, and then that branches out into
two more nodes.
Sort of 3, and then into 4 and 5, and then you go in your own route into the end. So it's got a lot of replayability.
That's cool.
I've not played Outrun 2, to be honest.
I've never played it.
It came out on the Xbox, the original one, and it came out in the arcades. I've heard good things about it. Looking at it actually looks really good, considering it came out in 2003. It looks very playable now. One thing that does interest me, there is a racing game that's due to come out called Arcade Racer or something.
Is that
similar kind of colourful look?
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, it looks really good. I'm not a big racing fan, but I was considering getting that. Again, moving on.
Go on, what's number
98 is Pro Evo Soccer, Pro Evolution Soccer.
Now, this is the game I've not played, but I have played the ones before it, which I think are International Superstar Soccer.
Yeah, that.
Because that was my first ever football game, and that was
Super
great.
Nintendo as ISS Soccer Deluxe, Superstar Soccer Deluxe.
I played it on PS1,
and then it came out on those as well. But that was a classic game. It was kind of it's always been the alternative to FIFA. But from what I know, it was more of a bit of an arcadey
it was
experience.
Hella arcadey.
And I think that's
International
the thing.
Superstar Soccer. Oh god.
I'm always been more into the arcade, like the more exaggerated feel of games,
Give me my
rather
third
than be more simulation. You know, some people like that kind of tweaking, making it as real, but that's not really what I'm into. And I've never really been into FIFA either. Although I can understand people get hooked on it. There's a big thing with it now. But
there's a big following. I'm happy with.
When I was
fighters.
in uni, I had a friend that was like, he got them all, and he would always play it. He was obsessed with it. They don't use the original names of the team members. That's another main one compared to say FIFA, who've got the licenses. But again, it's still a good game. I think it was called Winning 11 in Japan.
Well, I didn't play that, but I did play ISS.
Yeah. So and Pro Evo, started apparently in 2001, like PS1, PS2 era.
But I was playing PS1 until about 05, so...
Do you know what? Same here. I didn't get a PS2 till 05.
I didn't get a PS2 till about 2 years before I got a PS3.
I've always been behind. That's why I'm not bothered about jumping up. I'll still read the news about games, but I can wait a bit before the current ones. Right, number 97. We've got one more after this. 97 is Wipeout 2097.
Another game I've not played, but I have played Wipeouts.
Wipeout.
God, I love Wipeout.
I hate to say this, but apart from maybe the odd few goals of the very first one that came out on the PS1, I've not really played it. It's
Actually,
not
I think
something...
I have played the one on the PS1. I've played the one on the PS1. I played a lot of Wipeout HD on the PlayStation 3, and I'm waiting for... I want them to do one on the PlayStation 4. I really do.
Is 2097, is that the sequel to... I think it is.
It's the second
one. It came out in
one.
96, yeah.
I think the first one was 2048.
Yeah, reading this, the original Wipeout was a perfect launch out for the PlayStation. It was all about... The soundtrack was a major one. It was by... I know Orbital was involved in that, and he did a lot of...
Was it Wipeout Pulse came out on PSP?
Dance tracks.
It was a lot of electronic dance. I do remember Exceeder by Mason was on it, which I think a lot of people would know.
Oh, this was before the Exceeder.
I'm on about like later on. I'm talking about 07, 08 or around then.
I'm sure that was like 2006 or something when that came out. That's when
it was a PlayStation
house.
Launch title.
I used to mix house a lot. But yeah, apparently, Wipeout 2097 improved massively, and it was unfortunate that not that long ago, the original company who made the games and that, I think about a year ago or something, or it might be longer, or went out of business. They went busted. I think they were from Liverpool. It's a Liverpool company.
That's just unlucky. Just like...
There is another game coming out. I don't know if it's called...
Sad Times.
No, it's not Grip. That's something else. But there is another game. Yeah, it's not Grip. There's another game. I can't remember what the name is, but it's a really crap name for a game. And it came out as a Kickstarter to resurrect what Wipeout was. But I'll have to try and find that name for the next show. It was a really crap name. I mean, Wipeout, it sounds cool. It's tight, punchy, and it describes the game really well, you know.
Yeah, it does. A lot of the times you are wiping out, so it does have.
Moving
that going
down. At number 96. This is the last one, isn't it? Yeah.
Is this Vagrant Story?
This is Vagrant Story.
The game I own and have never played.
Before I could tell everybody. Vagrant Story, another one I've not played, but
I own it.
Really? I didn't know you had that.
I own it, not an actual physical copy. I own it through the PlayStation Store on PS3 on one of my many accounts. It was PS1. You can buy PS1 games on PlayStation 3.
I know it's on there. Yeah,
it's on there, and it was on sale. I bought a few minis. I remember I was about 10 at the time or something, and my mum was mithering for Mahjong, and I said, right, you get that, and I want this game, and I was like, it's called Vagrant Story. People were raving, and I picked it up and never played it.
Right.
So,
well, what's interesting is, I mean, back when it was released, I had no interest in it. I didn't quite like the look of it. I think it's because
I didn't like it.
I don't.
It was complicated. I played like 10 minutes of it.
It was just the look of it at the time.
Complicated for me.
Because it didn't look like what I was usually expected from Square in the Final Fantasy games. But to be honest, it's got a fairly unique look about it. I mean, looking at the screenshot, it just looks like a regular sort of
RPG.
No, graphically like a 3D game from the.
It's 3D.
PS.
It is 3D.
No, but I'm sure it had like a drawn look about it. There was something about the character design that looked like it was hand drawn. But
I've not played it in like.
I don't know. I'd have to play it. I do know that it seems to get love from quite a few people these days, and that's what's encouraged me to want to try it out at some point. I've got a friend of mine's played it, and he actually recommends it to me. He says it's a good game, but it's got kind of a unique but complex system.
That's why I didn't like it. The combat is definitely different.
Do you get like an area that appears around you? You can attack within that area as you're walking around or something like that?
I can't really. All I can remember was the combat was different to the RPGs I had played. Was nothing like them, and I just couldn't come to grips with the system, which is why I put it down. I think I played it twice for a total of an hour.
Right.
And I just couldn't enjoy it at the time. Maybe now if I went back, I could understand it more, and I could enjoy the feel that it gave more, maybe.
Right. I mean, just because it's the last one in, I'll just read through the text of this. It's just a couple of paragraphs, but it says, it's surprising that this was not on the 2007 top 100 list. Oh, that's interesting as well. Some of these games have gone up, as you know, or down. But it's interesting to see the ones that have gone up. Considering how highly it scored this time, I'm very pleased it has made it through, as this might be one of the best RPGs on the PlayStation, really, or indeed any format. I mean, it's in the top 100, so that says a lot. Again, you lot rated it higher than Planescape Torment, after all, which is unbelievable. Oh, that's funny. The visual design is quite striking and really pushes the PS1 as it came out and it's late in its life. And it's quite a treat wandering the ruined castle architectures. The battle system is also interesting and deep, as you would expect from the developers of Final Fantasy Tactics. So it's by the developers of Tactics
game I
rather
didn't
than
like.
the main series. I know, I really like that. That is one game that I
it's a permanent character death, though, isn't it?
It is, but you've got enough time to kind of go through it. But I suppose if you're playing a game and it lasts about half an hour and then you lose a character that you really wanted to keep, you got to go back and start again. So yeah, and in fact, very confusing initial area. We discussed that the block moving puzzle mini game is also unusual and it can be frustratingly tricky in some sections, but it gives the game a unique charm that has been sorely lacking in Square Enix output of late. The soundtrack is also typically incredibly vintage Square. At the time of its release, many reviewers were put off by the complexity of the battle system, so I can't help wondering how the game will be received nowadays in a post-Dark Soul world where such things are now often rightly celebrated. So, you know, that's what
maybe a remake would do it justice.
Someone wrote about this game.
Maybe a remake would.
In the list. Yeah, possibly. The only downside, right, you'd need a remake rather than a remaster. A lot of people say, oh, well, why can't they remaster such and such a game that came on the PS1? But it's because
people wouldn't appreciate it.
It wouldn't look right.
No.
It
would look like the same game. Exactly the same game, pretty much.
Yeah, it doesn't do it enough justice. I think whereas the PS2, it looks a bit visually pleasing because of the a lot of the PS1 games, they had a very janky edge to it and they were quite ugly. 3D games were in their early stages anyway, and
I'm playing at the moment on PlayStation 1 Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. It's the 4th Tomb Raider game.
Played a little bit of that.
And I had to go back. Well, I played it when I was 7. I was playing along with my dad on it, and we had to go and buy a guide because there was like one switch in one room we couldn't find.
Right.
And we checked every bloody inch of that one room and couldn't find a switch. Right. So we did go and buy a guide, but I'm playing through it by myself, and it's
what format? PC or
PlayStation? Original
PS1.
PlayStation.
Do you know what? It's a shame you
I have one.
It's on the Dreamcast as well.
I have an original PlayStation 1.
The Dreamcast version are probably even smoother. But to be fair, I played it on the PS1 when I was in uni. A friend had it was a copy game because I had a chip PS1 anyway, and I tried it out. But for some reason, I never played beyond the first couple of levels or something.
It's hard. Oh, the puzzles in the early Tomb Raiders.
I don't think it was that, because I played 3 and finished that, and I know that was pretty difficult. But I remember you get chased by a boulder at some point, and I remember climbing up a rope, but I'm sure that's something you do a lot on Tomb Raider. Yeah. And I remember it distinctly looked pretty good for a PS1.
It does.
I could tell, you know, if you go back to the original Tomb Raiders, they do look quite ugly now. I think the second one or the third one changed the pixels. Funnily enough, they changed them to be like triangular polygons, and it changed the style of it. If you go to the first one, it's very square and angular. The second or the third one, they changed it and made it triangular, so it's kind of like slightly different shapes to a lot of the scenery and the characters, and then it just developed from there. But I must have got through playing something else. But there you have it. I mean, we've gone overboard as usual, but do you know what? We've managed to discuss everything we wanted to, and more in
Tomb Raider. Well. Especially Tomb Raider, that's like the only reason I'm playing it is because I've been meaning to pick up they remade Tomb Raider, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like how many times they've done it now, I've lost count. But
they
did a new one and people hail it and say it's great. The PC port is actually good, not crap. So maybe I'll compare them at one point. But we're getting to the hour mark, I think, or we've passed the hour mark possibly.
One thing I do want to mention is
so we'll be wrapping this up soon.
A new outlook we're trying to put the show on, and so far we've been using Mixcloud, and the first 2 episodes are on that
to YouTube. We will be there.
Assuming everything goes smoothly, because I've not got an experience with uploading anything more than 15 minutes, but it seems quite simple, straightforward at the moment. So I'm hoping it's going to work. Levi, you're going to try and upload it for us very soon. It was just a combination of things, like file sizes, being an hour long, needing to be a video. But so make sure, you know, if you found us on YouTube, just know we've got a Mixcloud account. Look for Banhammer Podcast. The YouTube channel's called Banhammer, and we'll be on that as well. And if anything else comes up, you know, we'll let you know. We haven't set up a Twitter or Facebook or anything yet, but
nothing yet, but soon. We will do eventually.
And hopefully, you know, you've got something from this. I hope you enjoy the slightly more structured format. We're going to keep going through the top 100.
We'll reach one eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Even Rllmuk hasn't got there yet. So
they're getting there a lot faster than we are. So
yeah, right. So until next time, so hope you enjoy the show. That's me signing out. Hush.
And Levi here saying good night.
Bye for now.
Yeah.